Not from around here. I am a happiness engineer at Automatic, which is the company behind WordPress.com, but I am also a contributor to the WordPress community. Everybody see this?
Yeah.
So one of the things I do is I go around to lots of different WordCamps and I talk to people about getting involved with WordPress, whether you're a developer or not. So that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about. Before I begin, can I just get a sense of who all is in here? Any developers? Okay, a bunch of developers. Who is a designer? Any designers? Site administrators or other technical people? And then I guess everybody else here hopefully uses WordPress. What are you doing here on Sunday morning if you're not? So what I'm going to talk to you about today is just all the different ways that you can contribute to WordPress. I'm not going to focus too much on developer stuff because there's a session later on today which is going to talk about contributing to core, which is the main WordPress software, and that's going to cover a lot of the development tools. But if you're a developer, I still encourage you to stick around because a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about are stuff that we can use developers to help out with as well. First, I just want to start off by asking, or by sort of posing the question, what is WordPress? Now, everybody in here uses it. Hopefully, like I said, you all know what it is. It's a content management system that powers over 24% of the web. It's free open source software and is licensed under the GPL, the new General Public License. And it's created by a community of volunteers. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people who volunteer in the community. And that's made up of developers, designers, freelancers, administrators, bloggers, WordPress users. If you're involved in WordPress at all and using it, you can contribute. Basically, anybody can contribute. So before I talk about how you can contribute, I just want to talk a little bit about why contributing is important. So I want to do a quick little exercise here. So raise your hand if you make websites for clients. Okay, that's almost everybody. Keep your hands up. Raise your hand if you sell plugins or themes. Keep your hands up if you already have them up. Raise your hand if you don't sell WordPress products, but you use WordPress to sell something else. Who here runs a company website on WordPress? Okay, that should be everybody. And then finally, who's ever asked a question on WordPress.org forums or Meetup or just in general or here at WordCamp today? Okay. Raise your hand if you use WordPress at all. Everybody. So everybody who raised their hand should contribute to WordPress.
Yep.
Right? If you use WordPress, if you had your hands raised, you've benefited from thousands, if not probably millions of hours at this point, of people donating their time to the WordPress software, to the community. You're attending an event that was put on by volunteers. Nobody got paid to put this 500-person Sunday morning event together. Everybody here volunteered. And I think we all volunteer because we want to give back. We've benefited from all of that work and we want to sort of pay that forward. So just raise your hands and keep them up if you've ever answered a WordPress question. Keep them up. Has anybody edited a page in the codex? Edited documentation with WordPress? Theme review? Theme review, right? Yeah? Okay. Has anybody here volunteered or spoken or organized at a WordPress event like a Meetup or a WordCamp? Anybody translated a WordPress video? No? Okay. So everybody that just had their hands up, if you didn't have your hands up, find them later and thank them because they've really helped to make our community what it is. So next year I'm going to go through all of the different contributor teams that you can get involved with. Before I begin, there's one one website that everybody should know, and that's make.wordpress.org. This is the home of all of the contributor groups for WordPress, where you have to know a lot of code. But one of the things that we really need a lot of people to do is beta test the software. So install the developer version or the beta version of WordPress and test new features before they're released, so we can find out where all the bugs and where all the kinks are. Because no matter how much you develop software and how much you try to look out for bugs, until it's being released to millions of users, you're not going to find everything. So the more bugs we can squash before the software goes out to everybody, the better. And another thing that they do is user testing. So user testing, if you've never heard of it before, is when you get somebody who's never used WordPress before or never used a particular feature before, you set them down in front of a computer and you record their screen and tell them just go upload a gallery of images. You don't tell them how, you don't tell them anything about how to do it, you just say this is what I want you to do. And you record their screen and listen to them while they're doing it. The reason we do that is because that helps to identify where maybe a particular flow isn't working. Is it obvious that you need to hit that button next? And that's definitely something we can help out with, regardless of whether you're a developer or not. Design is the next team, and design is probably what you think it is. People who actually make the look of WordPress, so they design the user interface, they design pretty much anything to do with WordPress, whether it's logos or icons, and they're also involved with user testing as well. And then, oops, that's coming up in the wrong order, okay. The mobile team is the team that works on the iOS and the Android app. So if you are an app developer, they could really use some help. But we also need people to beta test the apps before they're released, for the same reason we want people to beta test WordPress before it's released. And I actually do support for the mobile team as well. So that's definitely something I would encourage everybody to get involved with if you're passionate about that. The other team I wanted to mention here is the Flow team. The Flow team sort of oversees all of the testing, the user testing and the what we call dog fooding, which is basically everybody tries to use a particular feature of the product in as many different ways as they can. So actually using it in practice, it's basically trying to break things, trying to figure out what does and doesn't work. And they do things like recording screens as well. They take screenshots, help the other team sort of figure out where the weak spots in the WordPress software are. And then the next team here is the accessibility team. So accessibility helps make sure that WordPress and all of our WordPress resources, the core software, WordPress.org itself, themes, plugins, helps to make sure those are accessible. And by accessible, I mean it can be used by people who are blind, who are using a screen reader, people who are on devices that maybe don't have full internet, for instance, if they're on a mobile phone. Trying to make sure that WordPress is accessible to as many people as possible. And then the next team is the Polyglots team. Polyglots is the internationalization team. So, how many people in here speak more than one language? We almost everybody.
Welcome to India.
Right? So anybody who can speak more than one language, or more importantly, anybody who can translate between those two languages, is really, really important to WordPress. WordPress is available in more than 50 languages. Sadly, the main languages of India aren't among them because we don't have enough translations for them. So if you'd like to see WordPress in Hindi or another language you speak, definitely get involved with the Polyglots team. We need more and more translations. Question in the back?
In regards to this, if you all are on Slack, anyone who wants to contribute to Polyglots team, I think Sam had once
Sam Sidler,
Sam Sidler had pinged me once asking that they are looking for translators in Hindi and Marathi and other Indian languages.
Yeah.
So you all can actually ping Andy, Sam, and all these guys on Slack, and they will surely help you all out in like contributing to Indian languages.
If you don't know what Slack is, I'm going to cover that in a minute. So.
Yeah, that's coming.
And it's not just WordPress itself, it's the WordPress website, it's WordCamp.org, it's the apps. Anything where you see text written and it's related to WordPress, we need to translate it. So that every time there's a new WordPress release, that translates to thousands of strings, thousands of little bits of text that need to be translated. So the more the merrier with that. We could definitely use your help. Does anybody here like helping people?
Yep.
No? We should. It's fun. The support team. The support team is probably the most important team for all of the WordPress community, I think. Maybe besides people. If it wasn't for the support team, I don't think WordPress would be powering 24% of the web today.
One question. How do you, what about people who do, like, there are other WordPress advanced users group on Facebook, then there's the Reddit WordPress group.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty active in the Reddit WooCommerce.
Yep.
So, what do you think about support there? Or do you think we should focus on WordPress forums?
I think there's room for everything. I definitely encourage, WordPress.org is where people who are new to WordPress first go. But definitely there's room for Facebook groups and other groups and meetups and events and WordCamps and everything. Do you have another comment?
I would like to add to that. See, like, you're part of the WooCommerce Reddit group. There are a lot of WooCommerce related people go.
Yeah.
Even Stack Overflow, if you go to see, there are more advanced questions. People are giving out their code in detail and asking their queries. But if you support on WordPress.org, like I support on WordPress.org, I'm not a very advanced user of WordPress. I'm very basic in terms of my WordPress knowledge, but I can do a lot, I can contribute a lot out there because a lot of new users are there. So if you all just want to get started with this would be like a gateway drug kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If you all are looking.
Support is how I got involved in WordPress initially. It's how a lot of people got involved in WordPress initially. If you're in this room and you think that you can't help out on the support forums because you don't know enough, I want to tell you, you're completely wrong. You know more than somebody else. No matter, as long as you know something about WordPress, you know more than somebody else. Hundreds of thousands of people come to the forums every day asking questions, and if you can help answer those questions that are easier, such as how do I download a theme, or how do I insert a picture, if you can answer those questions, the people that do know the more advanced questions or can help out with those, they'll be able to get to those more quickly and we'll get more people helped. In addition to the WordPress.org support forums, we also have a chat room on IRC. If you've never heard of IRC, it's basically just this, you download a program for your computer and connect to a server. So if you'd like a little bit more interactivity with supporting people, you can jump in there as well. And a lot of people come in there with the same kind of questions they have on WordPress.org. And even if you don't know the answer to a person's question, there's nobody in the room who does, you might be able to help somebody formulate their question for the forum. So help them get a better response.
Can I make a comment here?
Yes.
I've noticed the various forums have different trends. For example, WordPress.org, you find a lot of newcomers trying to help other newcomers. But on WordPress.stack exchange, we've got experts helping everyone. So do you think you should class the various forums in various buckets?
Say that one more time.
I mean, do you think you should let people know what to expect from various forums? Because not everyone seems to be of the same standard.
Well, so when I'm talking about forums, I'm talking specifically about the forums on WordPress.org/support.
Okay.
So we're not really affiliated with the Stack Exchange forums or any of that. Those are really completely separate communities. So with WordPress.org forums, we do try to make it clear that there's different forums for different topics, and we try to make sure it's as inclusive as possible. As far as Stack Exchange and Facebook, each one of those communities is going to have their own rules. We just want to make sure that the official things on WordPress.org are as inclusive as possible. So while I'm waiting for the slide to reload here, the last group on this page that I'm going to be talking about is the documentation team. So has anybody here ever searched Google or searched online for the answer to a question and come across the codex? So the codex is our sort of documentation that we're phasing out in favor of handbooks. But those are written by the docs team, the documentation team. So if you enjoy writing, if you're good at putting things into words that everybody can understand, the documentation team is a really great place to get started. And I also say it's a really great place to learn more about WordPress because it's, at least for me, I learn a lot when I'm trying to research how to put things into terms that other people can understand. And that's another thing that translations can help as well.
Codex have been working absolutely well. Any specific reason why is it phased up?
It's, well, mostly we wanted a WordPress-based solution, and the Codex is based on the MediaWiki, the same thing as Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So it can be sort of difficult to manage when there are updates. And the Codex is still perfectly valid, and we still keep it up to date. But the eventual goal is to develop handbooks which are built on WordPress itself, so we can manage pages and
So but the content and styling would remain the same. As in style as in
Yeah.
the way it is written.
Yeah. Most of the content that's in the handbook is pulled directly from the Codex. They might have reformatted things a little bit, but yeah, that's always an ongoing project. So that, we're not done yet. The next two themes that are groups I want to mention are the themes and plugins teams. So people raised their hands earlier. Raise your hand again if you've developed a theme or a plugin. Okay. Is it in the .org repository? Yeah? Okay. So a few people raised their hands, but not everybody, because not everybody is a coder. There are definitely ways that you can help out with these teams as well, though. Most plugins and themes don't get reviews. They don't get people supporting them in the forums. A lot of things no one's supporting. So if you have a theme or a plugin that you like to use and that you know a lot about, you can keep an eye on the support forum for that particular theme or plugin. You'll help the volunteer who developed the theme or plugin out by making sure that people know how to use their plugin. And you'll help the community out by making sure that people can use them. The next thing I want to talk about is the community team, which is the one that I'm on. And now I really need to pull out my notes because I got a lot of stuff to talk about there. So what the community team does is twofold. So for one, we're sort of in charge of all of the events programming and sort of coordinating all of that. So for WordCamps, for meetups that are part of our chapter program, we help coordinate all of that. And then we're also involved in community outreach. And what that means is helping to encourage diversity, so making sure we have diversity across gender, age, LGBT, across all of the different sort of ways you can divide us up as humanity. We want to have as many people represented as possible. And the reason for that is the more points of view that you have helping to make the product, the better the product will be. So we're involved with things like Google Summer of Code, which is something that Google puts on every year to help new developers get started. And then we're also involved in programs like Girls Develop It, which is a program in the United States that encourages students and teenagers to learn to code. Are you raising your hand? No. So the community team is a really easy place to get involved. If you've already sort of started the process by even coming to WordCamp. So the next step would be to volunteer or speak or even help organize. There's lots of volunteer roles that require no technical knowledge whatsoever, whether it's just timekeeping in a room or helping with setup and registrations and all of that. And then also, if a lot of events really need help with photography and videography, because that's a skill that not everybody can do. So if you are good at taking photos, or if you're good at editing video or taking video, that's definitely something you can help out with as well. And if you do feel comfortable, if you have a little bit of knowledge about WordPress, most events also have a help desk, or what sometimes in the past we've called a happiness bar, which is basically just a support desk where people can come up and ask questions and get help with their sites. And that's it for community. The next group is training. So training actually started originally as part of the community group and became its own group when it got a little bigger. And what they do is they actually develop training tools and curriculums and class guides to teach WordPress. So if you like to teach, or if you are a teacher, or if you like to learn, that's really a good thing to help out with. We're almost done. The next group we have here is WordPress.tv. Who here has watched a video on WordPress.tv? How many of them have you seen that had translations? So that's that's another thing that the Polyglot team helps out with as well. But there are people who volunteer on the TV program that help translate the videos and also just help make transcripts of them. Because for people who are deaf or they can't hear the video, we want to try and have captioning for every video. So if you can type down what you're hearing, that's a great place to help out as well. And also, they need help with editing the videos. So one of the projects we started within the last year is, instead of having somebody at every individual WordCamp editing the videos, have some central people who are good at editing. We can just have the video sent to and they can get them put up. And also just reviewing the videos, making sure that they're compliant with all the rules before they go up, making sure the audio is good, things like that. And then just to sort of close out the group here, we have the meta team. The meta team they're the ones who build all of the tools that WordPress.org is on. So WordPress.org itself, WordCamp.org, they write things like WordPress, which is how we manage all of the translations for WordPress. And they're also involved in a few other projects. And then finally, on top of all that, we have two other related projects that aren't even WordPress itself, but BuddyPress and BPPress can use help with pretty much everything else I've talked about today. So if you've used these two projects, these are two sort of community projects that are associated with WordPress.org. That if you use those plugins, they can definitely use help. All right, so who here still wants to contribute after I told you what's involved? I see fewer hands going up than I did earlier. That's not a good sign, maybe it's just me. So earlier we mentioned Slack, which if you've never heard of it, Slack is an app that you can download, and the WordPress community team uses it to communicate, for all the teams to chat with each other and to communicate with each other. So the page here at the top, make.wordpress.org/chat, has all the instructions you need to sign up for it. Basically, you first have to sign up for a WordPress.org account, and then you get a button to click to get invited to Slack. And there's apps for iOS, Android, for Mac. If you don't have one of those, you can access it via the web. The really important thing we have a lot of people getting confused over with Slack is it doesn't replace IRC for support. So we still have a lot of people that are coming in asking help questions in Slack, and just to be clear, that's not what we use Slack for. Slack is for all of the conversations surrounding making the WordPress project itself. And most of the teams that we mentioned, they have weekly chats. The community team, which I'm on, we have a monthly chat. And if you go to make.wordpress.org, all of those chats, chat rooms and times are listed there. So if there's a particular group that you're interested in getting involved with, go to make.wordpress.org and find out when their chat is. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not very good time-wise for the Indian community. Many of them are at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning here. That's definitely something we're trying to figure out a way to make more fair. Even, I spent the last 8 months in Australia, and even most of the meetings I could have attended as well. And we definitely have people here in India and around the world that want to get involved. Even if you can't attend the meeting live, most teams will sort of publish a review of the meeting afterwards, and all of the rooms are sort of asynchronous, which means that you can go back and read through later. You can ping somebody and ask a question, and then they'll ping you later when they're online. So before contributing, before you get involved in contributing, there's just a few things you want to keep in mind. We don't have yet an official community conduct policy, but in general, we do try to encourage good conduct within the community. And that means things like promoting equality and diversity, not shooting somebody down because they're a particular gender or because they're a particular user level. Be considerate, be respectful, be collaborative, be helpful. Everybody's in this for different reasons, but we're all in it to help make WordPress better. And so just shooting down or attacking somebody's opinion without anything to back it up is not something that we encourage. And then lastly is to promote WordPress, to what we call evangelizing, which is and also promote open source. So open source means that it's free for everybody, so that's really the mentality that we try to have. Also specifically, so everybody here that raised their hand earlier that has a company that sells WordPress-related products or services, there's a couple things that you need to keep in mind as well. In order to be involved in the WordPress community, we ask that all of your products be 100% GPL if they're derived in any way from WordPress. So that means if you sell themes on ThemeForest under their split license, meaning your code is GPL but your images are not, that doesn't meet the expectations of the WordPress community. That's Matt Mullenweg, who you saw earlier during the opening presentation, is a big proponent of open source, and the decision was made as a community that we would only support 100% GPL.
One question on that. Like, imagine I'm a plugin developer.
Yep.
Now, I put like 200 hours on a plugin, and I put it online. I charge $50
You
for
can
it.
totally sell it.
Yeah. So now, what if Mr. X takes it and he starts selling it for $10? Now, how does GPL help me fight that?
So in our experience, people are going to do that whether it's GPL or not. So yeah, the sort of foundations behind GPL are that whatever you have, whatever it is free to download, or maybe not free in terms of money, but free in terms of everybody has access to it. Free to use, free to modify, and free to redistribute. So I've heard a lot of people ask that question, and there are people who answer it a lot better than I do. But if you look at companies like Studio Press, which makes Genesis, if you look at all these companies that are multi-million-dollar companies, if you look at WooThemes and WooCommerce, they haven't really had a lot of problems with them. And so really all I can say is that there's not a lot of evidence that, yes, there may be some people who do that, and the GPL license means they're legally allowed to do that. They're not legally allowed to steal your trademark, so they can't use your logo, and they can't, they probably have to change the name. But in my experience, it hasn't really been a huge issue for anybody.
And basically updates. That's the way that people have added to plugins.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
You sell a yearly subscription for updates and for support.
And probably the support part is what everyone is talking and everyone is selling really.
Yeah.
If you look at it, people would want to buy from you because you created it, you know your product better than anyone. You get a guarantee. People won't be cheap If they're cheap enough to take that 40 bucks and not trust you and trust someone off the road, they're probably not going to be a customer because that $50 price point is not the price point. Something like what we had in video games. I used to sell video games at one point, right? They used to tell us piracy is killing the industry and all that. But we knew for a fact that the guy who's pirating video games is never going to buy video games off the shelf.
You were pirating the video games.
No, we were selling video games. And people used to come to us and tell us who buys video games, you get everything downloaded on the phone. That is not the case. People were buying games because they would get DLC and a lot of other things.
Just an add-on to Alex, it is better to prevent all those things. Why don't you just release an updates?
Exactly, yeah.
It's a frequent updates. Make a frequent updates with some add-on features.
And I think there's another talk today about pricing, so that might be a talk you want to attend if you're interested in that. GPL has been a very contentious topic since the beginning of WordPress, so I'm going to just move on because we could talk about it for probably 3 years before we resolve it. And then another thing, just to finish that out, is that people who make WordPress-related products need to honor the WordPress and other related trademarks. So if you go to wordpress.org/about, there's a link to find out what the guidelines for the trademark are. It's basically things like not using the term WordPress in your domain name, not incorporating the WordPress logo into your company logo, not saying we're the WordPress theme company, things like that. Just to make it clear that your company doesn't represent WordPress. So a few other tools I just want to talk about if you are interested in getting involved, whether you're developing or not, is if you're testing anything out, whether WordPress or themes or plugins, it's good to have a local environment on your computer. And basically what I mean by that is you install a web server on your own computer that's running WordPress that you can play around with, you can break, you can destroy, you can put back to default. So that way you're not doing all this testing on your own personal site. And there's a few different things you can get. If you have a Mac, you can get something called MAMP. XAMPP I think is on multiple platforms, WAMP is on Windows. If you're not a developer, if you're not really technical minded, the one that I use is Desktop Server by a company called ServerPress. And that's really easy to use. It's available for Windows and Mac and soon to be Linux. And basically you just download and install it and it does all the hard work for you. Track, and I'm not going to go too much into these tools because these are sort of developer tools. So if you're interested in learning more about them, I encourage you to attend the session later on today, which is about contributing to the WordPress product. And they'll be covering some of these tools as well. So track is how we track issues and make bug reports and just sort of keep track of all of the ideas that we have for making WordPress. And then if you are involved in code, SVN and GitHub are where all of the code is stored for WordPress. So it makes it, those two tools make it easy for us to keep track of the versions of WordPress and to revert files if something needs to be changed back. And then the last thing I'm going to cover in terms of the slides here is filing a good bug report. So anybody who's involved at all in the WordPress community, chances are they're going to have to file a bug report at some point. Whether it's you're a WordCamp organizer and your WordCamp site isn't working, whether you're not able to, you're having a problem with WordPress.org, there are tracks where you can report bugs for basically anything that we've talked about so far today. So just a few things I want to mention is things to include when you make a bug report. So first of all, you just want to say what I was trying to do, whether it's I was trying to upload a gallery of images. What you expected to happen, the images uploaded successfully. What actually happened is my browser crashed. And then the detailed steps are reproduced. So you literally start with log into WordPress, go to the admin, and every single thing you click on between there and the end. And the detailed steps reproduced are important because they help other people, they help the developers recreate the problem so they can see where the problem is happening in the code or what's causing it. And then, as always, if you can, include screenshots so we can see what's going on. It makes it easier to understand. And if you're not sure, just ask somebody in Slack to go over with you. All right, so that's everything I had on the slides. Do we know how much time we have for questions?
All the time.
What's that?
All the time.
All the time? Okay. I also, if anybody has is interested in particular teams, I've got some videos that we made back at WordCamp San Francisco that I can show if nobody has questions. But I saw a question up front, so.
So you spoke about you work with the community team, right? So you said you facilitate meetup groups and other things. So I'm from Bangalore, we just started on the community there. So I just want to know how do you facilitate new groups and such, in terms of events and such?
Yeah, so in terms of meetups specifically, we have a meetup chapter program. So you can go to make.wordpress.org/community and there's a link there to sign up for that. We pay the dues. If you use meetup.com.
No, we already got the chapter.
Oh, you already got the
Yeah,
chapter.
the Bangalore WordPress chapter, so we just
Yeah.
got it recently last
Okay.
time.
Josepha has already done an introduction with you, right?
What's that?
Josepha has done
Yeah.
introduction with them
Yeah.
for their meetup program. So there are a lot of people from Bangalore you all can talk to and interact. Like there's, I think Nikhil Vishnu is not here, but he'll be there. There's Akshat Chaudhary who runs Blogboard. So you should reach out to people who are from Bangalore and within your community. Then see, because Akshat has been doing meetups in Bangalore itself.
Okay.
So connecting to such people, I was talking to Josepha about this exact same thing because before you applied for a meetup group, there were other guys also who had applied.
Okay.
And at that point of time, probably we couldn't properly organize or get a meeting done or something like that. Finally, we had a meeting with you and we facilitated starting a chapter program. But then the initiative has to be taken by you where you
Right.
this.
Yeah.
We do a little bit of follow-up. Josepha sends out mails when she
Yeah.
sees that there are no meetups happening. But initially you should. If there's some kind of hiccup in terms of you are not able to start a program or you're doing meetups, you're not able to get the kind of you would like to get some advice, you can always mail support at WordCamp. A lot of people reply. Even pinging people on Slack helps. Like when we started our meetup group in Mumbai, I used to talk to Andrea Middleton a lot.
Okay.
Andrea is on this. All these guys are really helpful in terms of they're interested in helping you out, solving your queries. If you ping Josepha or someone, she's available from even like as early as 6 o'clock in the evening. They are available on Slack. Andrea may be something around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock India time. So that's not like really inconvenient for us. I think we can make it during those times on Slack and ping them, ask them queries if you have any issues. Also reaching out to your community locally, reaching out to other users will help you build that because it's not going to be always you who's available to organize a meetup. So you get other people, you get a backup, you have plan B for your meetup. So you don't need to only look at WordCamp Central to help you with your meetup, you can look at your local community to help you with it. If you want next door to you is
I spoke to
he's
you.
from Bangalore and he wants to do meetups, he's from WooCommerce, he can help you out with WooCommerce related information, he could do a talk and all that.
You
So
can
you have ideas, you have lots of ideas for meetups.
You can talk to meetup organizers in other cities as well because they do this. There is Bombay which does a good meetup.
Yeah, you can
There is
talk to
Pune.
Saurabh.
And that's mainly what the community team about. It's connecting people. So if there's multiple people interested in making a meetup, we connect them together. But also, if you're a meetup organizer, we help you just in terms of talking with other organizers, finding out what they've done that works. Just making sure that everybody's able to share information. Other things we do is like we sometimes help pay for technology, like if you need to buy a projector. But mostly it's just about if trying to help you make the process as smooth as possible. So
Also, it
if you have
helps with
questions.
venue payments. If you need venue payments, you
Yes.
can apply for venue payments.
Yeah, so if you have to pay for a meetup venue, the foundation can sometimes help pay for that. Well, any other questions? Everybody just want to go to lunch?
It's too early for lunch.